Well...
Morris, take a...
The skulls?
Not quite.
Oh, what?
Well... When...
It was the worst night in the world when Aggie was born. It began in the old village, the one swept away by the rivers of fire. The ground shook and the earth split open and spat sparks. The sun hid and the huts burst into flame as we fled. I thought we would all die. Everyone washed in the burning orange death, and Aggie's mother howling with the pain of the child coming. We made it as far as the cliff top by the sea. The mountain was still roaring and roaring. The rock ran in rivers toward the sea. The air smelled of death and poison. But Aggie was perfect. Small and angry, her tiny fists pummeling the air. I used my knife to cut the cord. We chose a spot for the new village closer to the beach. The burning rivers cooled to pumice and black glass. I made sure everyone knew that a life that began in this way would be special. Not everyone believed me, but Aggie proved me right.
My goodness.
No,
I...
Okay, Mom.
There.
I'm getting this...
Of course we watched her. We had heard of her birth and seen her on the shore. Her feet sometimes in the seawater, her body in the sun. We did not show ourselves at first. As a test, we left the mirror on the black shore, born of the volcano on the same day as her, and waited to see what would happen, to see if it called to her. She picked it up, turned it from side to side. She took it home. The next time I saw her, I introduced myself. We sang together, and I showed her how the mirror worked. How if you emptied your mind and thought of air and light and sea, you would see things in its surface. How things would unfurl in the future. Aggie, she saw a girl, her own daughter not yet born, as leader of the dry folk. I told Aggie to keep on gazing into that mirror, that one day...
Oh, I had a box of rocks that looked like that mirror somewhere. Where did I put it?
Whoa. This thing is really powerful, Morris. Can you feel it?
was always fearless. My mother Aggie told me there was nothing I couldn't do. With Otsul and without, I hunted the deer in the woods and the hares on the mountain, all before I had taken my first lover. Younger still, one time Aggie had me knock her tooth out when she was in terrible pain. I didn't mind even when the blood poured out. Spears and knives were my nature. Death and courage were my meat and drink. I knew about Aggie's mirror. When Aggie warned us the mauler was sick and there would be fewer calves for the following years, none of us listened. It was to be my first cull. I wanted their blood. It was mine. She came to the beach after the Morlow slaughter. Her hair, "We had killed too many," she said. Then she left the village, told us she was done with all of us, forever. As Otsul marked me with oil and blood, I did not mourn my mother leaving. I was young and foolish, and the sight of her ashamed me.
To think that they were still having the same argument.
Aggie must have...
What a beautiful object.
She was alone, and I would bring her food sometimes, samphire and sea urchins. She would make dry food and we would eat it together. Textures unlike any we knew that broke apart in your hands and in your mouth. We would sing together, make tea together. We became her family. The dry folk left her alone. She had a companion for a few seasons, a hind who came down from the mountain and slept at her fire. And then, for a few more, a golden hare that ate from her hand. One night we all felt it, those of us in the water and those above, the island waking, rumbling, alive again, more furious than before. I found Aggie awake, tending her fire, unsleeping, unresting, staring into her mirror. She told me she'd seen the island sinking into orange fire and boiling sea, lost forever above and below. The village and our town in the sea caves, all gone. Aggie went to the shore and blew the sinistral shell, calling our people up from the water. Aggie sang for them the oldest song, and we spoke for some time. That night, the sea and sky was all the same color, a deep grey blue like a mackerel's back without the glitter. As the dawn approached, Aggie left the beach to return to her people, to tell them what must be.
We... Such a small thing. But it changed the entire course of our island.
We heard the shell and knew Aggie had returned. Ibni was the leader then. It had taken many seasons, more than we would have liked, but there were finally enough Morlo again and our village was growing. Some of the younger ones didn't know Aggie and didn't want to hear her, called her a moon-shotten crone, but Ibni looked in her mother's face and saw the truth of it. The end would come. The earth was growling again. There would be hot rivers of death and clouds of poison. But Aggie brought us the answer. She would give herself to the island. Ibni's voice shook. Surely a deer or a goat would be enough. The year's finest, blackest calf. Aggie cast down her eyes and shook her head. We all knew. I offered my blade, but Aggie turned me away. She took her knife that had cut her own cord the night the volcano last erupted and wrapped Ibni's fingers tight around the bone hilt. It must be you, Ibni, she said. Aggie embraced her daughter. Ibni whispered something, but I could not catch the words. Both women's faces shone with tears. Aggie sat on the ceremonial stone, the tears streaming now from all of us. Aggie delivered her final message. She told us her body must not be burned or given to the sea, but lain in the earth of the island beneath the mountain. Ibni was shaking. And then I realized, as Aggie took Ibni's hand and guided the knife to her side, we saw the fish folk rising from the sea, hundreds of them, so many. I had no idea there were so many. Aggie was quiet the whole time, but Ibni cried out, a sound of longing and hurting from her heart like I had never heard. Then she fell silent, and as Aggie's life poured from her body, the island and everything on it, we wept then, in sorrow and relief. Then the fish folk were among us, countless, numberless. One embraced Ibni, holding her up as it seemed. Ibni and the fish folk took Aggie up onto the mountain. They laid her in the peat alongside the knife and all the things she would need on her journey. Ibni watched over Aggie for days afterwards. Before she was covered, she placed a sacred carved stone, Aggie's beloved hair.
Oh, Aggie. Now that's bravery.
you...
Yeah, but
Okay, Morris.
But then...
Aggie, you are...
Yes.